I'm Johnny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things.
Exciting times.
Why?
Because of our big announcement.
Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the fact I saw a ladder on the roof of an Audi RS4 at the weekend, but that's actually way more interesting.
Save it.
You go with that.
Save it for later.
Yeah.
Like a club biscuit in a glove box. No, we have new merch out at last. It's been a long time coming.
It's been a very
long
long
time. We
time
have a whole
coming.
new range of T-shirts and caps and hoodies and is that it?
We've got.
I can't remember now.
Yeah, and we've got more on the way.
Should have done more
Stickers.
prep on this.
Yeah, we've got more on the way though.
Yes, we have. But for now, the designs are new, and we have 2.2, as a design that you can have on a shirt or a cap. We've got a Spec D one.
To see Spec, of course.
Which is good.
Might be my personal favourite, actually.
Go to smithandsniff.com and you will see the range there. But it's all new stuff. We're quite pleased with that. I mean, there's some CMTMB designs. There's a couple of those.
Oh, yeah. We've had a lot of requests for that.
Including one which sort of pays tongue-in-cheek homage to the old CBGB's design T-shirt that you still see people wearing, the old New York music venue. And so we've done a CMTMB one that's an homage to that, and various other ones as well. So yes, go to smithandsniff.com and look at our new merchandise. We will be plugging it ad nauseum on the socials, but just before we forget and start talking about ladders on cars, we wanted to tell you that the new merch is out now.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone that's bought merch up until this point, because you guys seem to like it and you've been very patient. So we are trying to make a new array of garmentry. I say, it's garmentry.
Garmentry. Garmentry reminds me of pageantry, which is one of the funniest words.
It's a great word.
It's such a strange word. Full of mystery and pageantry.
Welcome to the Supercar, the pageantry of supercardom. This week, we've got 1,800 horsepower and a seemingly pointless removal of the rear bumper, and the addition of 2 more turbos when the person really couldn't control the car anyway.
Prizes will be awarded for condition, sound, and how much the owner is visibly a prick.
I don't know whether it's an age thing, but I'm slightly confused by the whole removal of the rear bumper of supercars in the tuning world and the YouTuber world. So it's like walking around with the arse cut out of your trousers a little bit, or the front cut out of your trousers a little bit, perhaps, or just walking around with no trousers.
Well, with the pipes on display.
Yeah, you've got a t-shirt and a jumper on at the top. And then you've got no pants or trousers on at the bottom, just shoes.
Yeah.
But
I suppose in a strange way, this leads us on slightly topically to the new McLaren W1 that was announced weekend before last. Which is a successor to the P1 in as much as it's McLaren's flagship, and therefore, I suppose, theoretically, the successor to the F1 as well, because it's got a letter and a 1 in its name. But this time around, it's 1,258 brake horsepower.
Yeah.
From a
hybrid
V8 motor with a hybrid system, but not, this time, a plug-in.
Yeah, I'd like to know the rationale behind that bit.
I'm going to guess that one of the things they discovered is that nobody plugged their P1 into the mains at any point.
Do you not think? Because I think it's the other way around. I think lots of people did because lots of them don't get used.
Oh,
but I think that was a mistake for the LaFerrari to not do that, because a lot of them don't get used, and it means you can't keep on top of the battery. But I don't own a P1, and I've never owned a LaFerrari, so I don't know.
I was filming not that long ago on something where we had a P1 just static. It was just background interest. And I think it came from McLaren. I'll be honest, I didn't organise it, but there it was. There was a lot of faff, though, where it was supposed to be plugged in. Now, I don't know if it was plugged into a trickle charger just to make sure that the 12-volt didn't go dead. Because a lot of the time, even with EVs as well, if your 12-volt goes dead, it's like people go, well, there's a ruddy, great battery in the floor, can't it just... But the two systems are separate for obvious reasons involving voltage.
Yeah.
And if your 12-volt goes dead, then all your systems on the car shut down and it can't be brought to life, even if the traction battery, the big one in the floor, is fully charged up.
Yeah, it's an absolute cluster.
I don't know whether
Cluster bomb.
This P1 had just been sitting in storage, and so they were nervous about it dying while it was with us and then not being able to get loaded back onto the lorry that it arrived on. So there was a lot of faff with a big cable running out of it, and it had a little thing, a little box with I don't know. There was faff. I didn't have time to fully find out what was going on.
Did they want the running lights left on it, or were the doors open and the courtesy light on it all afternoon?
The doors... No, the doors weren't open, actually, but maybe the lights were on. That's a good point, actually. Maybe the lights were on.
It's sort of motor show spec, so you've got to leave...
Yeah.
They want to leave the interior light on and the running lights, and the 12-volt takes the brunt of that, doesn't it?
On that note, I went past, a few weeks ago, the big Kia showroom on the outskirts of West London at dusk.
Is this a brag? Am I supposed to be impressed?
Yeah. They see me rolling past the big Kia showroom on the outskirts of West London, and it was dusk, and it's a 2-story showroom, and on the ground floor at the street level where I was, they turned off all the showroom lights. Yeah. So it was just the cars in there, but all with their sort of DRL signatures on. And obviously this is done deliberately for the look, because it did look quite cool.
Yeah.
Although, if you want people to see what your cars look like, it's not so good, because they're just a series of light shapes. I feel like maybe in terms of selling cars to passers-by, you'll go, oh, what's that medium-sized one? I might get one of those. It's not such a good sales technique. But who am I to judge? Well, I don't know how they're doing that, though, with the lights. They're
all plugged in. They've got those floor 12-volt plugs, 240-volt plugs. So the 3 pins in the floor, like offices where the vacuum cleaners need to be plugged in all everywhere.
What are they plugged into? Just on the battery?
Just be on the 12-volt. Yeah. If they're EVs, they probably just leave them on all night and then just plug it. Because it's not going to do much, is it? Unless you've got the heating on 28 care home setting. And you just run, and then in the morning you walk in and all the wallpaper will have fallen off the walls and all the computers have melted.
I realised I had an early start 2 weeks ago. I had an early start. I was driving somewhere. So I set my 24 Tesla to warm itself up so that when I got in the car at 6:30 in the morning, it would be nice and toasty. Oh. And also it was plugged in, so it was going to precondition the battery. So it was all good stuff.
Oh.
But I realised that I'd set it, I was too lazy to figure out how to do it any other way. I just set it so it was like, right, every morning at 6:30, warm yourself up, please. Forgot to disable that function once I'd done that one early start.
Oh.
And it was only when I was up reasonably early, about 4 or 5 mornings ago, walked past the car, I was like, why is it making a noise like a boiler? And it's because it was sitting there merrily heating itself up, and I hadn't realised.
And using 30% of the battery to
it wasn't too bad actually, but it was I just went, okay, that's a bit of a waste, isn't it? What were we talking about? I can't remember. But anyway, I when I came past the Kia showroom, I was a bit like, that's a lot of effort. And then different cars have different sort of things. They've got to leave the side lights on and then shut it but not lock it. It did look all right. And I think Jaguar Land Rover showrooms seem to do this a lot now.
Yes, they do. Do you know what I think? I know that it means you can't see all of the car while it's parked there, while you drive by or go by on the train or whatever. But I think it lures you in, and it puts a little punctuation mark in your brain. Like, I'm intrigued now. I want to know what the new Land Rover Discovery Sport looks like. Oh, it looks like the same as the other one. Oh, but I want to know. I think that's what it is. It's better than just having really stark overhead lights. I'm so down with uplighting and side and mood lighting. Love it.
No, absolutely. No. I'm very much. I'm an anti-big light sort of person at home. Don't like the big light on.
No. Especially if it's a harsh,
have
cold light.
Well, they usually are quite harsh, aren't they? I'd rather have a sitting room that's got about 900 very small lamps on tables or self-supporting standard lamp type things around the place, and put on some kind of combination of those. But we've slightly wandered off the topic of the McLaren W1, which I think says a lot about how interested in it we are, which is not very interested.
Well, more and more, we talk about this in our personal time. More and more with supercars, I'm interested in how they're put together and how they wring out that kind of power and that kind of efficiency, and it weigh in at a certain amount for the gear that it's got on board. But I'm rarely impressed with the way they look, because I think it's hard to make a supercar look genuinely different and unique and eye-catching now. And I'm also, with my maybe practical dad head on, I just go, okay, where am I going to use the 1258 brake horsepower? Because I'm not the kind of guy to want to just book out Brands Hatch for an afternoon. So where am I using it? And if people go, you take it on the Nürburgring, go, no, I wouldn't take it on the Nürburgring because I've just spent £1.5 million quid on it. So no, I wouldn't. It's actually £2 million quid. The other thing is, the W1, it just sounds like a universal glass cleaner from Lidl. P1, it got away with it. Position 1, I think it seems motorsporty.
Yeah.
For me, W1,
obviously. I know.
There's something a bit Lidl cleaning product about it.
It's actually the postcode where the big Kia showroom is in West London. Is W1, maybe, probably not. But it's also, I thought W1 is like one of those forms you have to fill in before you're allowed into the United States. Have you done your W1? Where's your W1?
Oh, that's totally it.
W1 is incorrect. It's not a sexy name, is it?
No. I'm a massive fan of the P1. I still think it's probably my favourite looking of the three hypercars of 2012, and or 2013. I think it was 2012. And everything I've ever thought about McLaren, I always go back to how does the aesthetic of that new road car compared to the P1? Does it look cooler? Does it look similar? And so although I do like the sort of Davros squinty eyes of the 720 as was, or the Senna, I think the P1 has just got it. This one, weirdly, I'm just looking at the pictures now to refresh my memory. I almost think it looks older than the P1, and I don't know how you do that.
I thought that.
Yeah.
I was like, this feels like a generic supercar from the 2010s.
Yeah. The front end is not quite... Yeah. I mean, okay, well,
the P1 is genuinely quite exciting looking, and it's just the sort of... And it looks small and dense, and this looks sort of big and...
Do you know what the P1 looks like? The P1 looks like a beautiful creature from the animal kingdom that has a friendly look, but you know it's fundamentally a lethal creature.
Yes, so the honey badger.
Yeah, the polar bear.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone likes a polar bear. They look like, kids think they're cuddly, but they're savages.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to give it a big hug. No, you wouldn't. Not if you like your arms.
No, because it would eat your face off. And so I think that the P1 has that face to it. I think the LaFerrari is... I know I'm going to have listeners really disagree with me, and I guess that's what the debate's for. I think the LaFerrari is dated terribly. I think the front end looks awful. It reminds me of the F50, and I can't stand the F50 Ferrari. I just think, I just don't like aesthetically. It just looks like a misproportioned children's toy to me. I just can't be doing with it. Even though the engine's wonderful, and again, Ferraris are more about the drivetrain than anything else. But
the Enzo is the one for me that hasn't dated well. I think that's a very awkward looking car.
Do you?
I didn't particularly like it at the time, but now you just go, oh dear. Also, it's got some very anteater face on it, and I just. Have you seen the interior on this W1? The official photos they've put out with the orange and black car. Again, I'm not sure about this two-tone arrangement. I'd like to see one in different colours.
It's got overspray.
it looks like it's a black interior, but they put the interior next to a big puddle on a country lane.
Oh, yeah.
And a truck's driven by.
And it's splashed.
Or someone's done a dirty protest inside. A horse has been allowed to live inside for a little bit, and some dreadful things have happened.
It's sort of pixelated as well, isn't it? Like CFAX.
It is,
if anyone remembers CFAX.
Yeah, it's got a teletext interior.
Yeah.
Well,
I quite like that.
I don't know.
I quite like that.
I just think it looks like it's splattered, and it looks uncomfortably grim to me, like it's going to smell.
The engine cover is also extremely subtle. Everything's matte black, when I feel like if it was a Ferrari or a Pagani, all the components would be billet and exposed and look at me, because it's a supercar, and a supercar is look at me. So they've really they've sort of played down the drivetrain, which is odd on a colours.
Has got gull wing doors though. For his first time on a McLaren, which I thought was very slightly interesting. But
that's cool, and I do very much like the insect-like back ends. I think McLaren do a good back end. All the McLarens actually have good back end because there's almost mandibles, and I think Chris Harris would be terrified of the back end of every modern McLaren. Do you know why?
Oh, because of his phobia.
Because his phobia of crabs, which still makes me laugh. The fact that Chris is actually petrified of crabs, I just really, really cracks me up. Sorry, Chris. So yeah,
one thing that struck me about this W1 is that it has a dry weight of 1,399 kilos. Which is it's impressive. But the Gordon Murray T50 has a dry weight of 997 kilos.
Wow, that's colossal.
I do. I mean, that probably says more about the T50 and what a freakishly light car that is. But you sort of go, oh, it's impressive, McLaren. And you realise it's not as impressive as is possible. They do. Apparently, they had this forensic approach to weight saving on the W1, right down to the sun visors.
Really?
So when people are forensic about weight saving, they always go for the sun visors. I'm sure I've read the same thing about the MX-5. Was that the rear view mirror?
They're just an easy target, are they?
Yeah, well, maybe they are. Maybe we're all driving around with these idiotically heavy sun visors, but I've never really thought of that. You don't go, oh my God, I'm going to need 2 hands for this. They're pretty light, aren't they?
Oh, I don't know. I took the sun visor off, one of the sun visors off my Boxster because a previous owner had snapped the little bit which flicks up to show the mirror or not.
Yeah.
And I had a terrible industrial accident. Had to get an engine crane in from. I had to go to Machine Mart, get an engine crane.
Yeah.
And they said, "What you lifting? Engine, transmission?" I went, "No, sun visor." And he went, "Oh yeah, you're going to need this one."
Yeah, this one's for trucks. You better use it.
Yeah, you're going to need that one.
Yeah.
He said,
you got how many people are doing this? Just 2 of us. Oh, yeah, mate.
And he
said, goes wrong, you're in trouble.
And he said, "Yeah, you got any store card stuff behind it, or any of those sort of like, European toll road cards thingies? If you've got 3 of those, you know the ones."
Picture of Jesus is genuinely what happened to my brother. He was driving his mother-in-law's car. She's quite a church-going lady. And he was over in Dublin. He borrowed her Seat to go somewhere. It was a sunny day. He pulled down the sun visor to shield himself from the glare, and not expecting that there was a picture of Jesus on the reverse side. He said, scared the Jesus out of him.
That's odd. I'm trying to think of this is maybe a question for our wonderful listeners. What is the strangest thing that you've found in or on a sun visor of a car you've either borrowed, bought, or maybe you've just been, I don't know, a bit of a skip licker and you've gone around a scrapyard and flicked them down looking for £5 notes? Or pictures of some signed photos of Samantha Fox, or whatever you might have looked at back in the day and all that. I found some. I found a couple of things. I found a St. Christopher medallion once.
Oh,
yeah, never wore it. Didn't feel right with me. Yeah, I've never worn a medallion.
Right, okay.
Have you?
St. Christopher, is this because St. Christopher is the patron saint of travellers? Is that right? So, as in, if you're travelling anywhere, then he brings you luck or safety or what have you.
Exactly. So, really the people that used to customise, I know we talked about recently in Ottersott, those 70s custom vans with all the murals.
Yeah.
Usually a flying horse and a lady with no clothes on and a barbarian sword, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're all missing a trick. Really, it should just be a huge scene of St. Christopher, who's like, I don't know what he's doing. He's sort of bench pressing lorries and other unwanted vehicles out the way, and
he's
caravans.
got a couple of a Scania V8 in each hand, and he's just slowly benching them.
That's right. And the motorway is across his naked but absolutely ripped torso.
Yeah.
So the road goes down his torso. And he's just parting all the unwanted vehicles out of the way, like, the double axle caravans of the world and things like that.
Someone probably knock that up in AI for you in about 2 minutes. But don't, because AI is destroying everything we hold dear. I was going to do a little throwback to something. Were we talking about this the other week? I'm starting to confuse reality with the podcast. I've got a terrible cold.
Podcast is so real.
Well, it is in a sort of strange way. Anyway, something I forgot to tell you that I saw a few weeks ago when I was doing a lot of road work was a Honda Civic Type R of the last shape being used as a driving school car.
What?
Yeah, it had the plastic thing on the roof to show you it was a driving school car. It wasn't just L plates on it. It was an actual professional driving instructor's car.
And it was a real Type R?
Well, I assume so, unless he'd gone all crazy on the body kit, but it was actually a lower spec model. But, I mean, why would you do that? Because it's quite an extreme kit on that car. In fact, I'm not entirely sure you could fit all of it onto a standard Civic because the wings are different, I think. But
the whole car was mad. Power Ranger mad.
Big rear wing and everything. And, but I was like, well, I mean, cool. And they are quite easy to drive, I suppose. It's not like it's, it wasn't like a Metro 6R4 or something. Now just feed the clutch in. Boom, 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 boom.
But you've still got to buy a clutch, and there's still going to be people who learn to drive who are totally clueless. So there'll be a lot of clutch smearing, and a new clutch assembly for a Type R is going to be 3 times what it would be for a normal Civic, I bet, or double.
That's a good point. But I suppose this is only an extension of, in the past we've talked about extreme cars or surprising cars used by mini cabbers.
Yeah.
And whenever anyone's encountered one of those, an Impreza Turbo or something, and asked the driver why, and they've usually, the answer is along the lines of, well, I really wanted a nice car, but this is what I do for a living, and I couldn't justify 2 cars, so you just have to meld the 2 and live with it. So maybe it's the same thing. Driving instructor's like, I love driving. I've always wanted a Civic Type R, but I can't justify 2 cars. Imagine having the dual controls fitted to your Civic Type R. Sorry, mate, are you sure? You brought in the wrong thing. There's nothing to stop you. It's a manual car. It's road legal.
Well, maybe someone can tell us a more extreme version of that. I mean, we've had a few fruity ones written in the past. I know. I just realised I know what I was going to ask you right at the beginning of this cast, Rich.
Yes.
I daren't ask you about what the status of the silty tromboned, very slow motorcycle rider going past your house is, because I'm worried that you'll just erupt with sleep-deprived rage.
It's funny that you should bring it up, because the last time I heard him, why are we still talking about this fucking thing? I haven't managed to record it, which is annoying because I really wanted to, just to play it into the podcast. But no, I heard him and I was like, it's 5 to 6. And then I looked at the clock. No, it was 6:22. And my first thought was, oh no, he's late. As if I give a shit about this moron waking up our streets. But I genuinely was like, what's happened? Did he oversleep? Is there a problem at home? Did the bike not start? I feel like I've become over-invested in this knobhead's life, even though I don't know him, and I actually hate him for waking me up every morning.
Well, you've got to hope that it didn't start very well, because he's one of these people that's just forgotten to service his bike. And then as it goes into winter, he's going to do lots of cold starts, and having not checked the oil for 9 months. And in the hope that as it goes past your house, the engine will finally throw in the towel and go, I have not got any oil in me. I am not doing this anymore. Screw you. And you'll get bits of cogs coming out of the crankcase and just scattering across the road.
Funnily enough, we've actually had an email from a listener called Luke Shadrick who says, "Hello, you pair of night sleeves. I've been invested in Richard's excessively loud motorbike guy saga the last few weeks, and I thought I'd chip in some evidence that may help. I used to live in ever so leafy Bath/Bath and used to work in the guitar shop on Quiet Street."
Did you say Quiet Street?
Quiet Street, yeah.
There's a guitar shop on Quiet Street.
Yes.
What? Oh, bloody
some great street names around here. In the 4.5 years I was there, we became quite accustomed to a window-shaking ped guy that would come past the shop pretty much every day with one of the unbranded delivery boxes on the back of it. It was one of those, I assume 125cc's, as I don't think a 50 could be amplified to this decibel level. It was a twist-and-go moped-shaped full fairing bike, which has no right to be so loud. Due to the door of the shop being open all day and quite close to the road, when it did go past, it was so loud, conversations with customers would be temporarily paused.
Oh my
Guitars
gosh.
drowned out, and every eye on the street and in-store turned to see what was deafening us, and most of the occupants of the store muttered the word tool, or more often than not, twat. You said you couldn't quite see if it was said ped guy or a battle jacket phony Davidson with L-plates when they were letting it tick over outside your house. But I'm going to assume that a city the size of Bath/Bath could only have room for one total skin flute like that.
Yeah.
I do hope you get visual confirmation of the bike one day. Maybe we'll share a hatred of the same tasteless muffet and take a note from a listener a few weeks ago with the standard exhaust replacement night watchman approach to a straight-piped Vauxhall.
Oh,
Luke.
Well,
So,
surely there needs to be a standoff against the guitar shop and the terrible, high-pitched, annoying trombone moped person.
That's amazing. That's just someone just getting a guitar going in a nice little riff and then having to stop because you can't hear it over a stupid 125cc.
I bet it is a 125. I'm still
trumpet.
I'm going to stick to my guns.
It's got to be.
I think it's
I
a
swear
50 bought out to 65.
I will, honestly. One morning, because I think I've said, I feel like, and when I've been staying away recently, I still find myself waking up around 5 to 6. So it's almost like my brain has now been programmed.
Yeah.
At such a point that I'm at home and I wake up at 5 to 6 and I haven't heard it, I'm going to grab my phone and be ready to record, and I will get evidence of this.
I think you should stand at the side of the road.
My house.
Stand at the side of the road with an illuminating sandwich board over yourself which says free Starbucks coffee now. Okay, he won't be able to resist it because he'll be tired having just got up and put his gear on. He'll pull in, and just as he pulls in, you walk over to him with a big smile on your face. From behind your back, you have a huge jug of steaming hot black coffee, and you just open the tank right in front of him because it's right on the top of the motorbike, and you pour black coffee straight into the running motorbike's tank, and then you walk off with your sandwich board.
It's probably designed to run on such cheap, low-quality fuel that it won't have any effect at all. It'll just chug away.
Or it'll just gurgle even more loudly. But
yes, it'll make it even louder.
I feel like I feel sorry for you. I do feel sorry for you.
Worse things happen at sea, but it is mildly vexing.
But before we go off the subject entirely of motorbikes, I've been wanting to bring up for a while the subject of ape hangers.
Right.
Do you know what an ape hanger is?
Those really high bars that people put on sort of Easy Rider Harleys.
That's right. So
is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a guy with ape hangers on the bypass the other day, and it made me think to myself, is it possible for a rider to look cool and in control of the motorbike with ape hangers? Because I'm not convinced. They are so these particular ones were so stretched, it was like the guy was hanging out of a tree like an ape. And I thought, if he gets into any form of motoring situation where he has to swerve, avoid, use the clutch quickly, I just don't think he could do it.
I think if you've got a very droopy moustache or a sort of strange beard without a chin bit like Jeff out of Biker Grove,
yes,
and long flowing hair and a bandana and sunglasses, and it's the 60s and you're in California, crossing the desert, then yes, you can look quite cool with those bars on. But the control thing, it's not just the fact that it feels like the geometry's all wrong, that you're just not going to be able to get the adequate steering inputs and stuff. It's also the fact that, I always associate those bikes with sort of, streaking across the California desert. So long days on straight, open roads.
With good visibility.
But I reckon you ride one of those bikes with those handlebars for more than 10 minutes, your hands are going to go translucent for lack of blood. And when you get off, you're going to have to spend about 5 minutes just walking around, just like shaking your hands, trying to get a bit more blood flow into them. They're going to be so numb, they won't feel like your hands. Like you try to... You ever seen those things where they're like trying to calibrate a robot hand, and it's a bit imprecise, and it ends up crushing an egg by mistake? It's like your real hands are going to be like that. It can't be good for you from a blood flow point of view.
Well, this guy wasn't going through the open roads of Arizona. He was actually near Wellingborough in Northampton.
Okay,
where there's quite a few roundabouts, but also the fact that maybe really hardcore biker cafes. There's a couple around here. They offer a service where you pull in, and if you get an extra large coffee, they will actually tip it into your mouth for you because your hands don't work anymore because they can't pick them up. And whilst they're pouring a beautiful coffee that's been made to your standards into your mouth, they've put, those tabletop ovens for jacket potatoes to make the skins more crispy?
Yes.
They've just opened the door of one of those and they've put your gloved motorcycle hands into a jacket potato oven whilst they're tipping coffee into your mouth. And you won't notice that they've done it for about a minute because that's how ruined your hands are from 8 pounds.
You could leave your hand on a table and they could be banging it with a mallet and you'd be none the wiser. I just don't get it. I presume what happens is as you're riding along, you have to alternate hands.
Yeah, they normally let one hand down and do a sort of another like an ape thing, like a hand dragger. And I actually think that stance looks cooler because you've got one on the throttle, the right hand, and the left hand's just dragging down low. Just like you're sort of like clapping your fingers together, like I'm doing now, but you can't see me because it's a podcast. So 8 hangers. Also, what's the car equivalent of the 8 hanger? I was thinking about that as well.
I suppose in terms of self-inflicted reduction in control and comfort. Maybe a really tiny steering wheel.
Oh, tiny. Okay. What, made of bare steel? Or
oh yeah, yes.
Or
those chain wheels. They never look comfortable or practical.
No, they're not. They're actually very dangerous.
Have you ever fitted one? You have one?
I've had one for years. I've never fitted it to a car. I've chickened out each time, so I just have it as like a glorified fruit bowl. And I've never fitted. What about a big gear shifter with something like a spiky hand grenade as a knob? That'd be a bit hurty. Yeah. So this McLaren. Going back to things that aren't 8 hangers at all.
Wow. We've really circled back.
It produces 915 horsepower on its own to give the highest output per litre of any McLaren engine yet. And the engine works in conjunction with the this Formula E car motor. It's a radial flux electric motor, which is, from memory, a really thin, pancakey, clever little compact unit. And that's 342 horses to ape a Formula E car's motor. 1.4 kilowatt hour battery, as you say, not a plug-in. So it allows for silent startup and 1.6 miles of EV range. That seems very little, perhaps too little. Do you think they're running out of... I mean, Gordon Murray's convinced of this. He thinks that they're all kind of chasing the wrong thing and running out of ideas, basically, which is why he stuck to his guns and just went, no, I'm going to just make less of them. I'm going to make sure it's all very simple.
Well, that's it. I mean, let's be honest. He exists in a world where he can make very few cars, sell them for whatever it costs to make plus profit, because there'll be demand there.
Yeah.
And he's almost keeping his head down, isn't he?
Yeah.
At no point is sort of mainstream press going to turn on him for his irresponsibility and going against the grain. These are niche specialised cars.
Yeah.
And yeah, we should be very thankful he hasn't tried to do any sort of sop to a sort of half-assed hybrid system that he's just, pulled off a wrecked Prius or something. He's gone, no, I'll just keep it pure, simple, and there's only ever going to be 100 odd of these or whatever. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter in the general scheme of things. But I suppose McLaren feel they're a little bit more high profile. They're going to try and make... How many of these W1s are they going to make? Have they said?
I'm just looking here. Boost setting gives instant full power, mimicking a race style push to pass, blah blah DRS.
Oh, here we go. 399.
Right, okay. The W1 follows only the Aston Martin Valkyrie in being a road car with true ground effect aerodynamics thanks to its underbody design, which is perfect for British pothole-strewn roads. Active front and rear wings, blah, blah, blah. Race mode, the W1 produces 350 kilos of front downforce, 650 kilos at the rear, for a total of 1,000 kilos of downforce. Ruddy rud. Yeah. I mean, it's... Yeah. I don't know.
Well, there it is anyway.
I don't know. Would I rather have that than, I don't know, an MST Mark 1 Escort with 300 horsepower?
No. And how much should one of those Escorts be?
I think the most you could probably spend on one is 150.
Okay. Well,
and that would
McLaren
be
is 2 million quid plus options.
Wow.
So you're up on the deal.
Yeah. I do feel like these are becoming less and less relevant and less usable, and so therefore I'm struggling to just get love and desirability for them. And I don't want that to sound like I'm just being a git, a sour git, because I'm not.
No, I suppose part of the problem is as well that their lack of relevance is also partly because it strikes me that they are, even though they're making more of these than Gordon Murray will of T50s, it's still not exactly a mass production car. So rarity plus heritage plus the general world around us where the mega rich seem to just get richer and richer, this just becomes a vessel in which you can store some cash.
Yes.
It almost doesn't matter. It could have a fucking Renault Clio 1.2 litre four-cylinder in it, and it would still just be a vessel for cash that would get passed around between the hyper-rich. I mean, actually, it couldn't. That's the thing. It's funny, isn't it? They have to have all the chops. Otherwise, any failing, such as having a 1.2 litre Renault Clio engine, would dent its desirability, even though it will never be driven.
Yeah. Oh, the W1 has retained hydraulic steering.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not gone for electric power steering, which is nice.
I'm sure the guy who looks after the owner's cars will appreciate that as he reverses it in and out of the climate-controlled garage once a month.
And it's marginally bigger than a
today, aren't we? I don't know. I mean, maybe there's people who'll use this one to commute from, Hampstead to Watford every day. But,
well,
I don't know.
We're in danger of talking about cars a lot on Smith and Stiff. So, we've talked extensively about pre-dawn cars and coffee events in America.
Yeah.
Because they are quite a fascinating thing for foreigners like us. Well, America seems to have a thing for valet parking.
Yeah, they're certainly valet parking enthusiasts, yes.
And it's way more commonplace in culture than it is over here. But
yeah, definitely.
So, and I'm suspicious. I would never valet park a car. I just it doesn't work for me.
Really?
Well, no, because you just open yourself up to far too many possible issues that you've then got to sort out, and that's just paperwork and headache and annoyance. I just don't want to do that. Oh, well, I would just mistrust people as well. So,
but then, But what if you're in America? I mean, that's going to be, you've probably got a hire car, right? So would you not even valet a hire car?
No, I wouldn't let anybody park my car because I want to know where it is and I want the key in my pocket. So if I change my mind and want to do something else, I don't have to ask anyone's help. I just go and get my car and do what I want to do with my car. Full stop.
Okay.
It's so easy.
Because sometimes in, say New York or Los Angeles, for that matter, parking can sometimes be a bit tricky. And
I relish that. I relished that, Richard.
Well, I'm sure Hertz are delighted to know that their Camry is in safe hands because you're not letting anyone else drive it.
Protective Johnny here strikes again. Yeah, I am a bit of a funny bugger like that. But I thought to myself, these 3 a.m. cars and coffee events that we seem to have invented in our heads, instead of having somebody to valet park, could there be the equivalent at the pre-dawn cars and coffee? And it's a valet car sitter / talker, FAQ talker. So when you pull up to the cars and coffee event in your, Ford GT, they meet you there and they get a deck chair out of the car and sit behind it as you go and get your litre of espresso. And they look after your car for you, but they also, they've genned up on your car because you've given them some information. They sort of pretend to be the owner for the hour that you just want to walk around and look at other people's cars. Right. It's like a valet FAQ talker.
Yeah.
I think this could work. I think it could be fun.
Are you offering your services for this?
Yeah, I'd love to do it. It's sort of like, is it cars and cosplay? I don't know. Because they're pretending that they own a thing that they don't own.
Yes, I suppose it is. I mean, particularly if you're wearing the branded merchandise to go with the car.
Oh, yeah. Maybe some owners get that choice. So when they employ the FAQ talker valet sitter, they say, "Listen, I've got a Di Tommaso Pantera. I'm going to bring along a pair of Di Tommaso Pantera Bermuda shorts that you can wear if you want, and you just put them on, so that when you sit there, you have to feed these people. So when you go and get a coffee, you'd bring them back a coffee and a donut or a cinnamon ring or whatever.
It's only polite. Yeah.
But they then become you for that space of time, because even though you've got an interesting car, you're a car person. You want to go and look at the other people's cars. You don't want to constantly answer questions about your own car. It gets a bit boring after a while. And they could even make a PowerPoint presentation as well, I thought. So they could have a little screen, like a tablet. Just a little tablet which says this was found in a barn in Minnesota in 1989 and 4 years to restore, rah, rah, rah. It got sold at Scottsdale thingy auction, the one that I can't remember the name of. And owner loves it. Ask him anything or her anything.
The Barry Jackson auction, is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Barry Jackson.
Yes, it's the Michael Jackson auction.
Your car.
Yeah. Barry, you bastard.
Barry.
Barry.
Can I just go back to the McLaren W1 again?
Yeah, well, of course.
Sorry. Something I meant to mention before is looking at their official publicity photos of the dirty protest interior.
Yeah.
I noticed the central screen. There's a sort of a shot where there's a little bit of steering wheel in, but it's obviously meant to focus on the screen, which is slightly angled towards the driver. Portrait aspects, as McLaren's are. You can see that Blinding Lights by The Weeknd is playing on the stereo. Good track. And at the bottom, you've got the temperature readouts for driver and passenger from the climate control. And in this photo, they're both set to 20.5 degrees.
I'm looking at that photo.
That's annoyed me.
Why?
Would you ever have your climate control on 0.5?
Yeah, frequently.
What?
Yeah, because I don't like two rounded numbers, remember? I don't wake up at 7 in the morning. It's 7:02, 7:03, 7:09, 6:58, never 7. and I can't tell you why. It's just because I'm weird.
But does that mean you would always have digital climate control on something 0.5?
I was driving back from Norfolk yesterday, and I had it on 18.5. In fact, the heating in my house, I'm just looking back at the thermostat, says Partridge, and it's set to 18.5.
Okay, so
because 19 seems extreme, and 18 possibly too low. I don't know.
It's my belief the human body cannot detect a temperature difference of half a degree centigrade.
What?
And therefore 0.5s on anything are bullshit.
Right.
I think you might feel the difference between 19 and 20, but I don't think you would feel the difference between 19 and 18.5. And I don't know where this has come from. Actually, I do know where this has come from. I think, if memory serves, the first car company to do 0.5 on climate control was Lexus, to show how good they were. It was almost like, look, we've got such control over our exquisitely engineered climate control system that it can move in half-degree increments. We've got that under control. And everybody else, from Mercedes to BMW to Jaguar to Bentley, whatever, all just went, oh, no, they're making us look like Muppets here. If we don't introduce a 0.5 increment, we'll look like our climate control's old tech. So they've all introduced it. It's all bollocks. I love a car, and occasionally you do still get into a car, usually a sort of more basic one. Our E-Up only does full degree increments, and it's all the better for it.
Oh. Well, I'm more interested in the Weekend's blinding lights reference here on the panel, because I'm pretty sure that in one of the music videos by The Weeknd, he drove a McLaren.
Oh.
Around the Mulholland Drive, kind of Hollywood Hills type stuff at night. I want to say it was a 570, but I'm sure it's wrong, and I'll get shouted at by our extremely astute listeners.
Oh, hello. It says here that The Weeknd has a P1.
Does he?
Apparently, and that's what was in the video.
Oh, that was a P1.
Well, it sounds like, I'm just going off a cursory search here, but...
wow, that's impressive.
There's someone on Reddit, but when you're driving next to The Weeknd in his McLaren on the 101, that's the Los Angeles motorway, isn't it? And then you see his music video later with the same car. Yeah, he's got a deep red P1.
It was the song he did with Daft Punk, I think. I want to say it was the one that he did with Daft Punk. But look, what do I know?
Yes, it was Starboy.
That's it. There you go. I know some stuff. I remembered.
Yeah. I thought the whole point was no one really knows what The Weeknd looks like.
No, that was Sia. Everyone knows what The Weeknd looks like.
The weird thing is that many, many years ago, I went to a gig in Camden Town, and Sia, I can't remember the band, but Sia was the vocalist.
Madness.
That's it. Well, yeah, because they're always playing when they're not in Finsbury Park, where they've been thrown out of Finsbury Park again
for squatting.
For doing a 9-week residency that they weren't allowed to do. They just go to Camden Town and do gigs in pubs, even though they haven't been asked to. But no, and Sia it was definitely Sia, because she has an amazing voice. But this was before she decided that she didn't want to be identified, and she's just up there singing and not facing the wrong way or anything that she does.
Did she have a severe fringe?
In my head, she did, but I might be just adding that in retrospect. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, The Weeknd's got a P1, and well, fair play. So maybe he's got a good relationship with McLaren.
I think he probably has after that. Do you know what I wanted to say?
I feel a bit silly now for saying these cars aren't ever driven, because there's photographic evidence of the P1 owned by The Weeknd sitting in traffic on a motorway, or a freeway.
Well, fair dues to him, because that track, Blinding Lights, probably has that track. He could have retired on that track, I reckon.
Yeah,
I think that's.
But then he's got new stuff out now, and it sounds quite good. So
yeah,
he's not.
Do you know what? It doesn't necessarily sound good, but do you know what looks really good, and it's getting me excited? Is the new Hyundai Santa Fe, and which is not going to appear in it's not going to appear in a Weekend video, as far as I'm aware. But do you know why I like it so much, Rich? It's because I've got a real thing for Ford Flexes. We've talked about this on previous podcasts.
Yes.
There's a strong whiff of flex about the
there
new
is, isn't there?
Santa
Yes, I know
Fe.
what you mean.
I'm down with it.
Yeah.
I am down with it. It's basically it's like a Volvo estate, but pixel.
Have you haven't driven the new Santa Fe yet?
No, I'm itching to, and I'm going to America quite soon, and I'm actually going to see if I can snaffle one out of the hands of Hyundai. Even though you can get them in this country, I just thought actually it's more of a US market car for them, and I thought 7-seater and all that. You know what I mean?
I think I mentioned on the podcast that earlier this year I drove an old generation Santa Fe plug-in hybrid. And it's going to sound like I'm damning it with faint praise, but it was an extremely competent car. It's one of those cars that just does everything you need and doesn't make a fuss about it. It
doesn't talk about it, what it can do, does it? It's probably 12-seater, just hasn't told us. They haven't told us.
Yes, there's a second deck that you can go up to if you feel so inclined, like one of those Canadian trains. I think we've talked a bit too much about cars, and I wanted to just
it's annoying, isn't it?
Seamlessly onto sunglasses.
Okay.
Because, well, what do you think of if I say Maybach to you?
What do I think? I think of Theo Paphitis from Dragon's Den.
Yes.
What
exactly.
Is that right?
Sitting in the back of his 15-year-old, almost worthless Maybach 62 that absolutely stinks of business and farts. Crawling around the M25, doing more business.
Rich business lunch guffs.
Yes, exactly. Okay. But then, of course, Maybach's been relaunched now as a sort of top trim level on Mercedes. They don't get bespoke bodies, but I saw a Maybach GLS in London a few weeks ago. And it had sort of very bright blue lower bodywork and then sort of, I think it was pearl white upper.
Oh gosh,
it was frigging horrible.
Did it look like a sort of like a bathroom statue from a stately home?
It looked more like a tasteless cake.
Right, okay.
But it also looking at the current Maybach range, I just look at them and go, who are these for? And all I can think of is DJ Khaled.
Oh gosh, well he is a Maybach consumer, isn't he?
He is. But I just look at them and go, these cars. Normally sort of car designers might have a mood board. And it's got some photos of people surfing and some, leopards and fighter jets and stuff on it. But I just think in the Maybach studio, they just have one big picture of a talentless cretin, and it's DJ Khaled. Falling off something, because he's good at falling off stuff, as we've seen on various clips on social media.
Oh, he's brilliant at falling over.
Or it's a looped video of him in that clip, where he's playing that Bob Marley guitar, but he's not, because he's just smashing the strings whilst sort of clamping his hand on and off the fret, and it's appalling. Yeah,
and he has a look on his face like somebody's shouting from another room, and he's desperately trying to hear what they might be saying, but it isn't working because they're just too far away.
Anyway, the reason
I'm not going to talk about
Maybach,
DJ Khaled, but
the reason I bring up Maybach is because I don't know whether you're aware of this, but they don't just make cars now; they make sunglasses.
Oh,
there's a whole website of sunglasses.
Oh shit!
Masterly creations by specialist Maybach eyewear.
Did you say
they're not specialists though, are they? You're a car maker.
Did you say masterly?
Masterly creations by specialist Maybach eyewear.
Oh gosh.
For decades, Maybach has symbolised the most exacting demands on quality, luxury and individuality. Arising from their background of automotive excellence, the name and standards are today carried on in high-end eyewear, leather goods and saddlery by Maybach, icons of luxury.
Oh gosh, I'm looking at the website now.
Characteristic are intricately worked, exquisite materials and outstanding design.
Oh gosh, right.
Yeah. So you look at the sunglasses collection. What struck me, and the reason I bring this up is because they've all got absolutely ridiculous names, starting with the first one. I can't take this seriously because it's called The Producer.
The
And
producer.
if you're of a certain age, or maybe it's just me, when you hear that, all I can hear it is in Ronnie Corbett's voice. The producer. It doesn't work as a name for something that presumably they're pitching towards kind of Kim Kardashian.
Oh gosh, I'm scrolling down. The Independence 2, The King, The President, The Jack,
The Commander.
The Commander. There's one called The Skyline.
What?
There's one called The Skyline.
I haven't seen that one.
It's an
I've got
aviator.
the MC here.
Oh, The Skyline. You're going to love this one. So it's an aviator, but it's frameless, and with just a double nose bridge, and the top nose bridge is like the upper part of a suspension bridge, and it has Maybach symbols on the clamps to the lenses. Oh gosh!
Oh God!
I want you to rock up in your Kangoo Trekker, wearing those bad boys. Gosh, look at the arms on the side. Oh, they look like a sort of, the cylindrical sheath that an important scroll is carried around in.
Yes.
That unscrews at one end and you tip the scroll out. It looks like one of those. Gosh, that is really awful. I wonder if they cost the same amount as a 15-year-old really badly abused actual Maybach car. Should we see if we can buy a car for the price of some sunglasses?
Oh, God. Well, this is the thing. They don't list the prices on the main Maybach website.
Oh, gosh.
There's some here from AliExpress that are £16.19. I'm going to guess those aren't real.
Can you buy those for our next live gig? Please.
What? Knock off Maybach sunglasses?
Yeah.
Here, on presumably these are real ones, Maybach The President in gold, £1,980.
What?
That's what they are.
How much did you?
On here.
10 grand?
No, 1,980. So £2,000, nearest damn it.
Wow.
I mean, it's still a lot of money for some not especially exceptional sunglasses.
I got distracted by looking at the Orbit 1 shade in gold.
Well, if Sir would like the Jack 2, I presume it's named after someone called Jack and not a way of lifting your Maybach up.
It is. It comes with a free
rims puncture.
It comes with a free bottle jack that you can hastily use.
Okay, that makes sense.
When you clip
anyway, here the Jack 2 is £2,184.44.
Shitting hell!
If you're on a tighter budget, the Player 2.
The Player 2.
They're particularly horrible.
Is that Enter Player 2?
Yes. Yes. Player 2 wins for £962.49. I don't know why the prices on this website are so bonky. I mean, they must be translated from another currency, I guess. But yeah.
All right.
So there we go. I didn't know this until the other week that Maybach make extremely expensive and not very nice sunglasses, which I suppose makes them absolutely the same as their cars.
I'm now going to spend the rest of the morning, when I should be working, probably looking at how cheaply you can get a Maybach from the mid-2000s, which would be great. I got a little bit drunk recently and started to imagine that Michael Flatley renamed himself as Michael Run Flatley so that he could go around and demonise the tyre that should get you home even when there's no PSI in it. And it's one of those things where I thought I was being funny, and then I realised in the morning, as I said it again to myself, it's actually not funny.
Well, that seems like a perfect note on which to wrap this up.
Michael Run Flatley. Yeah.
We thought it was funny, but it's actually not funny. Smith & Sniff, Britain's #1 car podcast. Before we go, I have three things to tell you. They are, firstly, that Johnny is involved in a fascinating new project to remake a classic Disney dog adventure, but this time starring our favourite female singer under the working title Sade and the Tramp. If that's not to your taste, then there is, of course, the Late Break Show. Lots of excellent videos on there. What have you got knocking around at the moment?
I don't know. I don't know.
Make something up.
There's always a video. Come on, I'm supposed to be promoting myself.
It's a barn find. It's a barn find. It's a barn find of a beautiful old Renault 30, but there's a dead body in the back seat.
No, there's nothing like that.
Okay.
No, there's. Hang on. There'll be something about my smart Brabus Roadster Resurrection coming.
Ooh, yes.
We've got, which is good. The good news is the car's not in a state of ruination, so that's positive, isn't it? Despite being on death row in a salvage yard.
Excellent.
So I feel like I've definitely claimed. I've saved one. So that's nice. Look, there's loads. Nice. There's loads. There is a well overdue.
Hundreds of them. Go and look one in the archive.
There's a well overdue Ghetto Boxster update. So don't worry, I haven't abandoned it. I've actually used it loads this summer. So and I bloody love that car, Rich. I'm actually having it professionally cleaned as well, which I normally do these things myself, but I'm getting a grown up to do some sort of swirl repair.
This time of year, just leave both doors open, parked on a country lane next to a big puddle. And hey presto, you've got a McLaren W1 Dirty Protest look interior.
The Dirty Protest interior, Dirty Protest cabin.
Okay, second thing I've got to tell you is, just to repeat ourselves from the beginning of this podcast, we have new merchandise out, new T-shirts, new hats, 2.2, and CMTMB, some ones that just have our logo on it. There's a whole range of new stuff for your delectation. So please go to smithandsniff.com and look at our merch there.
Yeah.
And the third thing I've got to tell you is that Robert De Niro liked Robert De Niro's Waiting by Bananarama so much that when he was in London, he took the band out for a drink.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that nice?
That is really good.
That was quite sweet. Yeah, bless him. Imagine going for a drink with Bananarama in the 80s. Fun times, I guarantee.
I think that would have been fun. I'm more of a Bangles guy, but I wouldn't turn down the opportunity.
I think Bananarama would be more fun.
Do you?
Yeah. I just think they're a bit sillier, they're a bit less serious.
Actually, they probably are a bit sillier. And they got out of that golf outside of the studio off of the charity record that I've totally forgotten the name of all of a sudden.
Band-Aid.
That's it. Band-Aid.
All right, well, on that note, thank you ever so much for listening. We're back on Friday answering your questions in another episode of Autosot, and we'll have a regular show for you next Monday. Until then, goodbye.
Bye, everyone. I love you. Okay, I'll say it. Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Bye.
So you've enjoyed this podcast, but you've had a thought. Is there a way here today that you could show support? Well, you could join our Patreon. What wonders that it brings. Early shows and extra notes on that side of things. You could buy our merchandise. We've mugs and hats, but still no ties. One day we will make those pies, but in the meantime, guys, hey guys, like and subscribe, and maybe leave a nice review. Like and subscribe, we know you know just what to do. Like and subscribe, we don't want to take the piss. Like and subscribe, but we were told to ask for this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Tell you what, I could go out, buy myself some like sick new threads and that, and like parade around a town, like go down Carnaby Street or somewhat where the old twats used to buy all their fashionable gear. But actually going to order it online. It says like Prelude on it and all that, some sick coloration, really going to show up my body, like gym fit body. And then I'm going to go out, like order like all of the drinks in the club, like maybe there are 3,000 people in there. Fuck it, I'll order all of the drinks for everyone because that's the way I do it. And then we're going to go out, take the Prelude out, probably do like 190 home, maybe 210. I don't even know. Like, it's so fast, my eyes don't even function correctly when I'm driving at that speed. Anyway, when I'm out, people are like saying, "Hey man, where'd you get your t-shirt from? That is sick as hell." I'm like, I'm telling you, this is special shit. I got it from the Smith & Sniff website. Prelude 2.2, not pissing around. Like, you're wearing quality. Believe.